That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prenier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio, and I'm glad that you're listening in and you're following me today as we just get into another day of just all things crazy, all things really cool, and I hope that in the process of me sharing this with you, you are very encouraged with what we talk about here today. So, one of the things that I want to talk to you, my website is battle4freedom.com. You can go there. You can share me out with as many people as you possibly can. If you want to, you can also go to mojo50.com to learn about all the different shows that are available to you on this amazing network, mojo50.com. If you were listening live earlier via iHeartRadio or Spreaker or even, iHeartRadio or iTunes, you would know that just before this program, you would have had Pat Oney with the Pat Oney Show who would have come on. So this is some of the different things that you can learn, and there's been some schedule change-ups over this new week. And I just highly encourage you to continue to stay apprised of what's going on with Mojo 50 Radio. Go to mojo50.com, sign up. I don't have a sign up feature on Battle for Freedom right now. Might do something like that in the future, but for now, just stay with Mojo 50, stay with Battle for Freedom, and most importantly, stay with God, and He'll guide you through everything you're going through. It's also, when you're starting your day off, make sure you start it off with American Pride Roasters Coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 50 Radio. Go to AmericanPrideRoasters.com and get your coffee today. If you want to interact, what you can do is you can go to Facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio. And you can leave comments. I'm going to see some as people decide to come through here and start sharing some things. Today is a very interesting day because yesterday, I talked about the idea of talking about Pride Month. Unfortunately, a lot of people just made assumptions about that broadcast rather than spending the time to hear and understand what was going on. And sadly, there are some people who have been destroyed as a result of it, or even hurt as a result of this. But it was interesting that it had happened, and as I'm formulating a lot of different things that were happening, over the weekend, and what God was showing me through some of the movies that we watch and we interact with my family. A couple movies I want you to see. They're on the cover of this. Thank you, Josh and Jill. Thank you for being part of this. Lep, I see you. Awesome Lep. You can catch him on Saturdays with Ain't You a Peach as he just shares some really cool stuff. Sarah, she's basically our banner for she's our banner for Mojo 50 Radio. She makes certain that every sponsor that you need to know is in the timeline. So if you don't know who our sponsors are, go to Facebook.com/Mojo 50 Radio in the midst of this broadcast and take a look and listen, and she'll make certain you definitely know. Like Ramika Designs, I do not have my Tumblr with me, but I still do have my first and second shot of COVID shot glasses here, so that I can make certain that we have our first and second COVID shots. You can get those at Ramika Designs, and while you're there, use the code B4F and save 10% on your purchase. You can't go wrong. Appreciate every last one of you being part of this. So as I sit here and I'm talking about this, have you ever been beat down by the people that you thought were closest to you, that you love, that you put out a lot of energy into trying to see them succeed and had you made mistakes? Yes, you made mistakes. And have you unfortunately been basically always looked at as the mistakes you made rather than seeing and not realizing that there's more to you than just your mistakes. There's more to you than just who you may have been in the past. We'll always be judged by our past. Everyone will. For those who don't like the success that comes into our lives, for those who envy the success in our lives, the only way that they can feel better about themselves is to always see us in the negative light that they've cast and they keep on us, because it's the only way that they can feel like they've accomplished something. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Linda, as well as Lisa. Thank you for joining as well. See, a lot of people are going to tear you down. A lot of people are going to tear us down because of the fact that their life is going nowhere. So let me get into this. Let me get into this story here when I show you these two shows on here: The Perfect Race and Remembering the Goal. And that's the title of the show. The subtitle is Remember the Goal. But actually, the proper order for this is, if you have Netflix, not Netflix, PureFlix, it's only, I think it's $84 for the first year, $99 for every year after. I know there's a million subscriptions that you're trying to cut back on, but I believe that PureFlix is a great investment for you. So you're going to start with that movie first and then go to The Perfect Race after. But you have to understand that I set up The Perfect Race first because it truly is a unique race that we all have. Good morning, Amy and Curtis. Thank you for being part of this. We all have a perfect race. God has assigned a race that we all uniquely have in our lives, and sometimes there are going to be people who are going to try and get us off our tracks. There are going to be people who want to distract us and keep us from focusing on where God is and where he wants us to run. There's a unique race, and I love this. Hebrews 12:1, it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witness, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Hebrews 12:1. I love this. The young lady that you see in both things, she is this coach. She's this cross-country coach that does this thing in terms of helping cross-country runners do better by doing these things they call splits. So instead of just going all out and just running, and I told you I'm horrible when I'm doing like a 400 race, I turn around and I basically, in a 400-meter race, I will use everything I have in the first 300 meters and I'm like the best. I probably have the best 300-meter run, in the nation. But it's those last 400 meters is where I die because I did not pace myself. I did not control a rhythm, a pattern. I did not pace myself to win the race correctly. Good morning, Carolyn. And as I sit here watching this thing, this movie is it's a great movie as you sit here and you watch this because of the fact that she tells them to break up their race in splits, and they turn around and so one split, they will run at one particular place, and then another place, another part of the race, another split, they'll run another speed at this. And it's really funny because as the runners, they're always needing to learn how to become faster, and this coach, she teaches them how to become faster by running slower. It doesn't make sense. She teaches them to become faster and helps them become faster by having them run slower. See, most training, and I experienced it when I was in high school too, everything was running at 200%, 200%, 200%. This is sometimes how you would have a lot of injuries because of the fact that everything was full throttle. And I remember when I hit a 100-pound dummy bag and I hit it incorrectly and in my shoulder, and I ended up getting a pinched nerve. I think it was in this 11. I was either a junior or a senior. But I remember I hit it pretty hard. I didn't think anything of it. And it was a day later. I'm sitting there in class and I'm, working on, a test. And all of a sudden as I'm writing, my right arm just dies. And I'm just sitting there looking like, what the? And I couldn't write. It just went numb. I couldn't do anything, so I had to pull out a pen and start. I look, because I had no time. I pulled out a pen and I started writing with my left hand. I'd never written with my left hand before, but I learned that day. And it took some time. Like, I could do some things with my hands, but writing wasn't one of those I was going to be able to do. I had a pinched nerve, and it was really, really bad. But as you sit here and this coach, she sits there and she gets them to run slower because by running slower, they learn to build endurance. Well, for a lot of us, in this fast-paced world, God is asking us to run a little bit slower so we can run faster. that we can run faster for him if we slow down. A lot of us, we're wondering why our faith, our life and our walk with Christ is not going anywhere. And I will tell you, most likely it's because we've been so high paced and we never learned how to do simple endurance. Devotions. See, when I tell you to stay in the Word of God all day, I want you to understand something. I want to help you with something right now. Staying in the Word of God all day does not mean that you have to read the whole Bible in 1 year. You don't have to read a whole book of the Bible in 1 day or 1 month or 1 minute. Sometimes staying in the Bible every day, you could probably be marinating on one verse for a few days. That God has to emotionally take you through so many different things and rip those things out of your mind and let you see how those have been distractions from allowing you to see exactly what the passage has to say. Sometimes God has to take you through some stuff, and that one verse, if you never get to the end of that chapter before the end of the week, you are not bad. Sometimes you have to go through. Look how long Job had to go through his ordeal and then listen to his knucklehead friends tell him about how he was being disobedient to God. And that's the reason why he was going through his struggles. So sometimes people are going to be sitting there, they're going to be making accusations against us. They're going to be stalking us. They're going to be bothering us. They're going to be harassing us. And the most important thing you have to understand is they're basically trying to get us off our track. They're trying to break up our speed. They're trying to break us up and keep us from focusing on what matters most. If we stay fixated on them, we're not fixated on God, and we can't grow in our faith. They're just going to be people who are going to want to tear us apart. And I love this story with this teacher because this coach helps the runners eventually become faster. And I think this is a true story. I need to confirm. But in the second movie, The Perfect Race, there's this one of her students who went from high school to college, and she had this one runner who was the all-state championship run was 4 seconds faster than her best run. So through the coach's laborious tasks and things like that, they helped her increase her speed by 2 seconds. But that still meant 2 seconds that had to come from where's the 2 seconds going to come up to make up to allow her to be in contention with the state runner. And what happened was, and there was some running and there were things that were going on, and the coach decided to play a mind game with the fastest runner. She had the runner run 600 meters of an 800-meter run, and then at the 600-meter run stop, not completely stop, but slow down. And all of a sudden, in the mind of the runner, in the mind of the coach, everyone's wondering and trying to think about exactly what's going on. So they turn around and they try to run a different race because they want to prove that their way is better and that they're going to destroy us. They're going to fly right by her. See, the thing about it is that I noticed that, like, in the coach's brilliance to basically get her runner to just do her own race and win, she got the other runner out of her own process of winning and securing the game. All the runner had to do was stay in her own form and practice, and she probably could have won the race. But she started the race off with the intentions of beating the other individual rather than focusing on what God had for her. I think it's the same thing for us. I think it's the same exact thing for us, that when yeah, I saw something this morning. And it was a comment by one of the listeners. Reading the book of Job, sometimes we're tested to see if any of us inflicted by Satan would still serve and praise God. Don't let Satan blow your candle out. Shine for Jesus. Amen. See, when I share this with you, and I try and encourage all of us, stay your course. See, people are going to try and get you to run their race. People are going to try and get you off of your course. There's only one person you should follow and get on the course that's prescribed by him. That's God. God is the only one who has the full view and understanding of what life is. Now, there are a lot of people who are going to sit here and tell you God doesn't exist, evil doesn't exist, all these other different things, while being the very evil that they claim doesn't exist. And the thing about it is, sadly, it's going to show you the true colors of the people that you thought were really endear to you and that were really going to be on your side. You have to let it go. You have to run your race. Get back on the track. Keep running. See, I needed this for me because of the fact that as I learned that there are people that I thought we were on the same track. I thought we were all the same run race. I thought we were all handing each other the baton, and I didn't realize that at the last minute they took off their jerseys and showed me who they really are. We watched a movie this past weekend with my wife and kids, and it was about this young girl that these two sisters were having a dance competition because they wanted to be part of a video for a major singer. And one of the people that were with her, one of the sisters, as they were succeeding and they made it to the finale, she was an undercover agent for the enemy and ended up leaving and going somewhere else when they thought it was going to work on their revenge. We're going to find out that they're going to be even, life is going to get so crazy that they're going to be people so closest to us that they were never there to push us forward. They were only there to hold us back. Amen, Kathy. Put on the armor of God. Put on the armor of God. The reason why I say this is because, again, even in this country, with all the news, with all the craziness, with all the stuff that's going on, with the craziness even happening, even with the craziness that's happening in the G7, Biden, instead of talking about how America can move forward, he spends time talking about Trump. See, this is the problem. Whether it's Trump talking about Biden, Biden talking about Trump, most of these leaders are so fixated on talking about the other individual rather than talking about what can be done to make America successful. What can be done to help people succeed? When we spend more of our energy on talking down about the people who we just don't like, when we sit there and we stalk them, and when we sit there and we think that we have a better view and we start attacking them, you know what? They're trying to get us off of our race, and we're not on the race that we're supposed to have. See, that's the thing about it. Most people are, do you realize that most of the people who are destroying you are not even in the game? What was it? Spike Lee? When Spike Lee, when he'd be out in the stands, when the Knicks would be playing, he's a big Knicks fan if I'm correct, and he turned around and he started harassing all the other different team members, the team players. I remember when in my drunken days, and I remember my first game, my first tour to the Yankee Stadium, and I'm like 6 or 7 rows behind the dugout of the opposing team, which happened to be at that time the Toronto Blue Jays. And here, who comes out here? Dave Winfield. I was angry that Dave Winfield was no longer with the Yankees. And I sat there for 3 innings screaming at Dave, calling him a loser, drunk out of my mind. Should have been kicked out of the stadium. Dave just looks back at me. He's like, "Really? Really, dude?" And the Blue Jays whooped the butt of the Yankees that game. See, Dave stayed focused on what his task was. He wasn't going to let this drunk bumblehead and knucklehead get out, distract him from his task of what he came to do. Yeah. And I lost my voice by the 3rd inning screaming so much. Yes, time to lay it down and leave there. You know, it's very interesting as we sit here and we stay focused. I love this idea of running the race. God has set for every last one of you, every last one of us, a race that's before us. And we have to run it. And here's the thing about it. There's some races we're going to have to run by ourselves. There's some races that's going to be a team relay. But most of the time when we're running the race, think about this, and I need you to understand this. The race is already set with the people on the track. It makes no sense to try and pull people out of the stands to start running the race. It makes no sense to pull the hecklers out of the crowd to get on the track to run the race. And I think that in life, because we have so much compassion, because we care about people so much, that we want everyone to experience this race. We want everyone, listen, I want everyone to know who Jesus Christ is. I really do. But there's only so much that we can do. And I think that sometimes we make the mistake of running our race, and then we sit here and we turn around and we stop, we get off the track, we throw someone on our shoulders, or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people on our shoulders, and we continue to try and finish that race carrying the people on our shoulders, realizing that's not the way that the race is run. And we could disqualify ourselves trying to do something that was never meant to be. All we can do is pray that God will put more people on the race. Because think about this. Even if we beat, or even if we follow after other individuals on that race, even if we were in last place, crossing the line is what matters most. Crossing the line is what matters most. Maybe the goal is, see, that's the thing about it. Let's go back to this verse for a second here. This is what I love this here. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, no pun intended, and sin which clings so easily, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Endurance, pacing ourselves, no rush, no sprint. I'm not gonna lie to you. As a believer, you know, when we're hot, we're in love with Jesus. We just found out He saved us from ourselves, and nobody can love us like Jesus. Amen. Nobody can love us like Jesus. And then all of a sudden, we get burned out. No one wants to listen to us as we share Jesus. They start thinking we're a Jesus freak. They don't want to talk to us anymore. You're one of those kind of Christians. You got to talk about sin. You got to talk about all those things that really don't matter, because God's love and He's going to accept everybody into heaven. No, He isn't. If He was going to accept everybody into heaven, then He never would have died on the cross. What's the purpose of accepting everybody and what's the purpose of having a sacrificial lamb if everyone's going to go through it and there was no need for a sacrifice? If everybody's going in, then there was no standard to be kept. There was no standard to be maintained. There was no standard to be met to enter the kingdom. Everybody just walks in. Basically, Willy Wonka says, forget about the golden tickets. Everybody can come into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. That's not the case. See, because if that were the case, then there'd be no law. If everybody could get in, if everybody is rewarded, if everybody gets a trophy, then there is no challenge. Why even be on the field? Instead of basically having them play the game, running around, and some kids doing their best because they want to succeed, why put that pressure on them? Just hand out the medals. Send the medals in the mail so that the individuals don't even have to worry about putting on a uniform, that their parents don't even have to worry about bringing them to the track and field. Just send the medals. But it's not the case like that. Life is not like that. Because if that were the case, then that means why even go to work? Just sit home and wait for a check. And it can be from anybody. It can be from the government. It can be from your neighbor. It can be from anyone we just don't have to participate in life, but we're going to get all the rewards of those different things. Carolyn, I love being a Jesus freak. So do I. This is not the race that a lot of people want us to run, but it's what God called us to do. Listen, folks, I'm your host, Watson, prenamed for Battle4Freedom. Going to get into some news topics when we get back from the break, but until now, let's just take it easy. Let's relax. and be prepared for the perfect race. And remember our goal. Talk to you on the flip side. Hey friends, Watson Prunier here, host of Battle for Freedom. Normally you would be hearing a cute little 2-minute audio segment with me and my family, but I want to introduce something a little bit on the different side for this month of June, for Pride Month. Yeah, for Pride Month. See, a lot of people are confused on what love is really like, but love is about telling the truth even when it hurts. Love is about being honest. Love is mirroring the life of Jesus to a world that rejects him. Many of us were there, or still there, or even worse, heading there. I don't know your life story, but I do understand pain and rejection, even from the people that we bring closest to our hearts. And some of them were or are professing Christians like me. And some things we said or have been saying or will say will be unfortunate. But do not let our actions or their actions keep you from recognizing that we're all sinners, including me and including you. But the story's not over. There's Jesus. He died for you. He died for me. He died because he knew that we could do nothing to get right with God. Listen, don't pay attention to the people arguing about rainbows. Instead, pray for them, as many of us have been praying for you. And maybe God will show them grace and mercy as he did for us. You know, if there's anything to take pride in, it's that God was willing to die for us, and he did. And as God heals you, continue to remain in prayer for those who have lost the ability to communicate without killing another person's spirit. You know, as you give them over to God, I'm going to do the same for you. Please do not allow this moment to only be a season. Beg God to make it much more and for something to take true pride in. Until then, God bless, and remember, Jesus died for us all. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo5 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you as we sit here having this discussion about talking about the perfect race, remembering the goal. My website, battle4freedom.com, but I also want you to remember mojo50.com so that you can share it out with as many people as you can. And while you're there, if you've paid off your bills and your budget's set and you have a little extra cash and you're feeling in a giving spirit, why not consider clicking that donate button at mojo50.com and just share some love. Help us keep the lights on, and I really appreciate every last one of you. If you can't do it, guess what? I still appreciate you. I still appreciate you. You may be on a race, you may be on a track, you may be on a run that basically says that right now you got to get out of debt, just like me. And I want you to take care of that responsibility. Get out of debt so that when you have nothing burdening you, you will be able to be more charitable and giving with the extras that God has let. And that's something I want you to understand too. The Dave Ramsey plan. Total Money Makeover. Read Total Money Makeover first. And when you're done reading Total Money Makeover, look into picking up Financial Peace University. Dave Ramsey, he put out his seven. Well, no, before I get you triggered with Dave Ramsey, before I get you triggered with Dave Ramsey, let me actually let you hear one of our other our other sponsors.
Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
New Life Holistic. Don't go in life being
triggered
without being helped with New Life Holistic. Folks, as I sit here just talking about the idea of like Dave Ramsey, the plan that we have there. See, some people will tell us that, that we were told, and thank you for joining, Deanna. I appreciate you being part of this. And hi, Carrie. Many people will sit there and they'll tell you, well, you need to just have the best in life. Enjoy life while you can right now. Patience. Run the race. Getting out of debt has been so critical. I really wish my wife and I understood this before we got married. But we can't change. You can't turn back the time. You won't be able to find a way. It just have to work in the now. Get out of debt so you have the freedom to do whatever it is that you want. To build up a budget, build up money so that you can go off and you can buy and make investments in the things that matter most. You know, it drives me up the wall because of the fact that a lot of people don't seem to understand the freedom. When the word of God says the borrower is a slave to the lender, it really means it. You're a slave. You're wondering, how am I going to make that payment? How am I going to make this payment? How am I going to cover all these things because I borrowed money from these individuals? Look at how many kids are wanting, and how many adults are wanting student loan forgiveness because they borrowed money to pay for an education. And they're constantly worried about it. And some people they're like, I don't care. I'm just going to keep running up credit. I don't care. I'll just get a new credit card. I'll just do whatever I want and live life. What kind of life is that? You're not free to do whatever. You're not free to live and breathe and do what you want. Take your time. That even during the pandemic, even during the shutdown, even during restrictions and not even restrictions, limited shelves and things like that. If you're debt free and you're not worried about if price gouging takes place, go ahead. I'll buy it. I'll pay for it. Because if I really need it for myself, but ultimately, what we're praying for is that you've developed a budget to actually pay for those things that you need, those emergency fund things, those critical things that you need. What is it? Prepare with Mojo? Go to Prepare with Mojo, and you can basically get yourself a supply of things that'll provide you what you need when times gets really hard and there's nothing on the shelves. To have the money to put that aside, so when you need that, you're not dipping into your regular budget that pays your bills. You actually have cash set aside. There's a reason why we tell you about this, so that you can afford to make the investments. Even as my wife and I are making changes, and I have to make some serious changes for myself in my life, in my health, and what I've been doing. See, I got off the track of healthy eating. I got off the track of healthy living because I got so busy and so disoriented with so many different things. I'm getting back on that track. I got to continue this race to get back to where I'm supposed to be. And every last one of us has that chance. And I'm telling you, doing it, my wife and I, we aim at being debt-free by the end of this year. And I'm going to tell you even the greater reward of being patient. I've been watching the housing market for the last 7 years. I've been looking at homes because I've been dying to get my family into a house that we can enjoy and not be stressed out about. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've studied places around Indianapolis, areas outside of Indianapolis. I've watched the prices go up. I've watched what should be the right price. I've studied what should be the current price of a home at a certain location. So when someone lists their home ridiculously high, I'm like, yeah, that's not working. I saw this one house. It was built in 1900, and it was listed for $150,000 on, I believe, May 24th. Sitting on 2.41 acres of land. The house is in shambles, but it's on 2.41 acres of land. It was listed for $150,000. Now, mind you, last February of 2020, that house had sold for $42,000. So a year later, the people who own that property and that rundown house are selling it for $108,000 more than they bought the house for. And they bought that house then for $42,000. Mind you, back 5 years earlier, it was sold for $14,000. So basically what was happening here is that you're not really paying for the house, you're just paying for the land because the house has to be demolished. But then I watched that house, I'm like, $150,000. I'm like, oh, that's within our price range of what we want to spend for a home. And then it was 2 weeks later, the price of the house dropped down to $135,000. And then last Friday, it dropped down to $120,000. In less than a month, this home dropped $30,000. It's a seller's market now. And amen, Amy. I'm glad that you have an emergency plan. Oh my goodness, Sarah, you live on the West Coast. I'll be lifting you up in prayer. And hey there, Dave. Good to see you. Glad you're part of the program. See, every last one of us, we can better prepare running the race that God sets before us. I tell you about Financial Peace University. One young lady, she was angry with Dave Ramsey. I don't know if she was so much more so angry, but she posed this question to him as he put out the 7-point plan of what you need to do in reference to being financially stable. And she says, well, you're a millionaire, and if you want us to be rich, why do you even charge a cent for your app and your program? And I had to share with the young lady, and I responded, I said, listen, you can either spend $10 to $125 to invest on your financial security, but if you're not willing to commit to that, to get on the track, because actually that's your entry fee to get onto the track. See, high school runners, Olympic runners, there's a fee that they have to pay to just be participating in the track. They have to then go through the trials to qualify to be on the track. And you know what? Sometimes the fee to qualify and what you need to qualify to get on the track of being debt-free is being willing to make a small investment in getting the education to understand how to get out of debt. Because if you can't stop Starbucks, if you can't stop movies, you can't stop McDonald's, you can't stop all entertainment and sports and clothing and shoes and all this other stuff, if you can't make the decision to make a sacrifice here, you won't be able to make the sacrifice that'll keep you on the track down the road. My wife, we spent, my best friend gave me Total Money Makeover for free. My wife and I made a $129 investment to get the material for Financial Peace University, and then we turned around and we had babysitters for 8 Monday nights as we learned the lessons, and we sat there with other couples who wanted to learn how to be debt-free and learn how to have a better financial profile in their lives. If you're And yes, Dave, you're so right. The current housing market is not sustainable. I said that to my wife. She was concerned. She's like, we're not going to be able to buy a house at this price, this moment. We're going to have to start saving up a whole lot more money. We're going to have to double, triple what we're putting in the bank so that we could actually have something. I said, honey, don't worry about it. It's okay. I said, just hang in there. Trust me. The prices are going to come down. Trust me. And now, we're just in this past weekend, we're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. Yeah. It's good morning, Mark. Thanks for joining. You know, God, yes, Amy, God got this. The current market can't be sustained. So as you sit there, and yes, paying rent, oh, it's a waste. It's paying somebody else's mortgage. But guess what's also paying somebody's mortgage? Paying somebody else's mortgage. If you're overpaying for a house that's about to lose its value within the next year and a half, I'm not condemning people who purchased. I'm just saying, listen, if that's what your race is and that's what your run is, stay in your lane. But for the rest of everyone who basically is just going to try and save up a little bit more, don't dog them out for basically still being in an apartment. Maybe God has a different race for them as they sit there and they just put money aside and be prepared to move in. Because guess what? My family can't pay for a new washer. My family can't pay for a new dryer. My family can't pay for a new dishwasher or clothes dryer or air conditioning unit or heating system. We can't pay for those things. My wife, my 3 kids, I want to get them into a decent school. I want them to have a great education, but I also want them to be healthy. We have to make certain that we have the right vehicle to get us to and from. But if we're paying $1,400, $1,500, $1,700 on a mortgage payment, because because you told me to get into a house now, and then my car dies. So where does the money come from? And it's, yeah, I'm there with you, Dave. It will crash, and I feel for those that will have their equity evaporate. I am there with you 100%. It breaks my heart because of the fact that what we've been watching that's been happening with the market has been nothing but immoral. There is zero reason but greed as to why people would raise the cost of their homes that much money. People are paying thousands, tens of thousands of dollars over the asking price of the home. I understand making a profit, but what you're seeing right now with the market is the price gouging we watched last year when people were selling masks for $5 to $10 to $15 or $25. It's the same exact thing. And the people who were charging a ridiculous amount of lumber that's now 3 to 4 to 5 times the value of what it was before, it's completely immoral. But hey, if there's a need, supply and demand, people will pay for it. And they agreed. If you agree to pay for it, got to deal with it. Can't ask for relief. You could try and refinance, but you're going to refinance on a house. You're going to refinance on a house that was $60,000 to $200,000 listed higher than it should have been. Have a blessed day, Amy, and I really appreciate you. You be blessed, and you stay the course, sister. Stay the course. The idea is that there's a race that every last one of us will have, and the question is whether or not we will stay on the track or we will be distracted, get off the track, and start running someone else's race. So back to that movie, the second part of in the Perfect Race, the scene was, here's the fastest runner. So now the young lady is 2 seconds behind her. So what did she do? The coach had her runner run with the fastest runner for 600 of the 800 meters. And then by the time she got to 600, she said, slow down and finish fourth. She does it. Now the coaches and everybody's they're confused. Why in the world did you stop running? You could have been, close to winning the race. But the coach's goal was to get in the head of the other runner and her coach, and it worked successfully. The better runner started running faster. She started running faster she started running slower just so she can blow her away in the end. But when it came to the end of her trying to pass her by, she didn't have the endurance. She didn't have the stamina. She didn't have the energy. There are a lot of people who are trying to basically destroy us. They want to humiliate us. See, that's the thing about it. In running our life as Christians, our goal is not to humiliate other individuals. Our goal is not to sit there and tear other people apart. It's about building them up. Now, if they feel like we're attacking them and they feel they come to this conclusion that we're the ones who are being mean to them, it's because of the fact that they have lost sight of their lives and they've been so fixated on us that they stop living themselves. Or they've been so determined to bring us down with them. What is it? Never argue with a fool, because if you do so, they'll bring you down to their level and beat you up with experience. Well, that's the same exact thing with when we sit there and we try and run someone else's race, then we stop running and we're no longer doing the pace that God has set for us in our lives. Stop trying to impress the Joneses. Yes, I love this. Dave says, I agree. I'm all for someone making a profit, but every sale can't be a home run. Dude, it's not just a home run, okay? This is one of those games, brother, where is it Chicago? Which stadium is it that actually has there's water? There are people in boats just outside the stadium. It's like setting the water, you teeing it up that you're not only taking out of the park, you're sending it into the water, and there's a whale sitting there to catch. You try to get the ball into the spout of the whale outside the park in the water. That's what some people are aiming for. It's just not just a home run. It's just one of those unique, like, Happy Gilmore things. But the consumer shares the blame. If they didn't buy, the market would correct itself. Well, it's correcting itself. Yes, it is. See, that's the thing about it. Again, run your race. And my wife, she's just looking at me. She's like, it's starting to correct itself. I'm like, what did I tell you? I said, just trust. And trust me, I understand. I want to be in a home. My girls, they're riding bikes, and my wife and I we're walking yesterday, and they're just in their own world. Like, literally, what they're experiencing now as they're riding their bikes is what I see them doing when we're in our own neighborhood, where we have our own house and we can ride down our street in the country, and the girls can just enjoy themselves. There's no one on the road for them to worry about, and they can just ride free with no concern. That's what they were doing yesterday, and how much fun they were having yesterday is exactly what I want for them. But God's still making it happen, even as we are in an apartment. I'm not ashamed to be in an apartment. Some people laughed at me. Some people's haters in my past made fun of me, trying to make me feel inferior because I lived in an apartment. Hey, if you got a big mansion, enjoy. May God bless you for the blessings that you have there. It's just not the blessings that he intended for me. Because if I try and live my life like you, I am no longer living the life that God set for me. Sarah says living on the West Coast has made me cynical. Living has made me cynical. But yeah, folks, I want us all to succeed. I really want us all to succeed. And here's the thing about it. There's only so much that we could share with people, and we can't make them accept the truth. Here's one of the things I thought was really crazy. It's out there. It's really bad when you get this. So if any of you have heard about this, Yeonmi Park, this young lady basically says her mother fled North Korea to China over the frozen Yalu River in 2007 when she was just 13 years old. From there, the two were sold into slavery by human traffickers, but were ultimately rescued by Christian missionaries. Oh my goodness. Christian missionaries who helped them flee to Mongolia. They trekked across the Gobi Desert to find refuge in South Korea, where Park went to school until she transferred to Columbia University in 2016. She said she was expecting to learn how to think critically, but instead was forced to think the way that they want you to think. She also said she was confused by people claiming that they were oppressed when they went to $500,000 schools. This is what she says. North Korea was crazy, but not this crazy. She's 27 years old who escaped the Stalinist dictatorship, warns wokeism is stifling freedom of speech at universities in the United States, just like in our homeland. See, folks, we know how bad things are going to get because of progressivism. But we can't force people to wake up from the reality of progressivism. Sometimes we just have to let them go. Just like when Paul says that, or I think it was, I'm trying to remember I think Jesus says, there's some people you just got to hand them over to Satan. You just got to hand them over to Satan. You got to just walk away. We can't save them. Understand this. This isn't the Marine Corps. This isn't the military. This isn't leave no man behind. Because if the person is sitting there stabbing you in the back, attacking you, shooting you, giving your personal information to the enemy, you have to let them go. There is no rescuing them. They need a separate rescue plan, or they have to suffer the consequences of their rebellion against the liberty that we're trying to offer them. Some people you just can't save. And I think that's the problem that we suffer is that we're so emotional, we're so eager for people to be saved, so for people to succeed, that we're willing to stop our lives just so that they can win and succeed with us. But it's not meant. Some people are just not meant to succeed. But sometimes you have to put a close ear to this. I was talking to Dr. Anthony Malchiotti yesterday, from New Life Holistic. He's telling me some of the different things that he's doing diet-wise and exercise-wise. I started listening. Last night, I got out and I started walking. It was dark. My girls had already been put to bed. We were riding, remember, they were riding bikes while I was walking. And then I decided I want to walk a little bit more. I'm like, I'm serious about this. I'm not messing around. I'm going to be putting in my walking. I'm going to be building up more and more walking every day because I have to lose weight. I have to get healthy. We have to be determined to do this. And it's going to be those moments where people are not going to understand it. But you stay the course. You stay that race that God has set before you. Yes, Dave, that's right. Apartment living isn't always bad. It depends on where you are in life and what you want out of it. Living in a house requires maintenance. Boom. In my case, the maintenance on the family farm is basically another full-time job. And see, some of those things I would love to do. It's just that God's like, but do you have the time to do it? Do you have the time to put all that maintenance in right now? No, Lord. There's a lot of other different things that I've been tasked to do that I need to make certain I take care of right now. See, that's the thing about it is sometimes we don't even finish our race before we want to pick up another race. We're running. And I'm so glad that in most times when you have, and even during the Olympics, there's only one track. Because imagine the person who was sitting there who was in a 4x4 or 4x100 relay race and decides that, halfway through their thing, they see someone over there doing the shot put and they get off the track to go do the shot put or the high jump or the triple jump. What? Stay in your lane, stay in your race, finish the race that you have. But most times we, like squirrels, we get so distracted that we get off of our race and we find ourselves doing things we never were meant to do. Even as I shared the story about the woman from North Korea, that what she shared about how the woke universities are stifling speech so much, we knew this was coming down the pike. Do you recognize that we just have to let people experience the evils of progressivism that we've always told them they're there? But here's the thing about it, though. Don't say, I told you so. That was the one beautiful thing about the woman in the first movie, Remember the Goal, because a lot of people didn't believe in her methods. A lot of people didn't believe in what she was prescribing as to be a means of success for people's life. And guess what? When the race was over and everyone looked around to say, you know what, you were right, she wasn't there. She didn't need to hear them say you were right. She knew she was right. She didn't want them to apologize to her and feel like, they feel horrible because they maligned her. They tore her apart because they didn't agree with following her message. She just proceeded and she just moved on with her life. She just continued to go on and proceed on. And I think that sometimes, even as things are going to be revealed to us, as things are going to be revealed about the nature of how crazy things are going to be in the world, all we can do is just say to the people, okay, how can I pray for you? How can I pray for you? Because that's all we can do. Here's one that's here's another one that's really even sad. Footage shows cops doing nothing after innocent people are shot during an Atlanta drive-by because mayor has banned police pursuits. Residents of affluent Buckhead says it's a war zone and demand to succeed. This is what's really sad, is that around our country, crime is rising. Things are getting crazier than it's ever been before. We've warned people of what's coming down the pike when progressivism is allowed, when more and more people depend on the government, when the government keeps spending and there is no accountability on what's going to happen. I know a lot of us want to preserve the American dream. I know a lot of us want to preserve the American experience as best as we possibly can. I'm trying to help you understand. I want to free you right now. My attitude of gratitude is ending on a positive note. My attitude of gratitude is right now. Stay in your lane. Don't pick up someone else's. Don't pick up someone else's task. Finish the one set for you right now. Because as long as we keep thinking that we're going to fix them instead of focusing on how God is going to drive and direct us, He'll bring them along as long as they are obedient. We need to stay focused on what God has for us. Until then, we're going to be miserable. We're going to be angry. We're not going to be free. And all we're going to do is be miserable if we're trying to run a race for someone else. Find out what race that God has set for you and stay there. Please, I'm begging you, because it's the perfect race. And remember the goal. The goal is God's glory, not ours. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiber Radio. Brad Staggs and Daily Mojo's up next, and I'm out. God bless everyone. That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead America.